Hey, this is Al McGee with YETicket.com. I'm here with the famous young actor, Skylan Brooks, but he's starring in a new film called Archenemy, and that's what we're going to talk about, Archenemy. Skylan, thank you for taking time with me, Al McGee at YETicket.com.
Thank you for having some time for me, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, anytime for a young, good actor like yourself. But first of all, Archenemy, let's talk about that for a second, or for a few minutes. Here, you meet this homeless guy, but he told you a story and you kind of believed him. And the story was he's from another planet, he's a hero and things like that. Well,
Yep.
when you first was approached with this script, what did you think about that?
Oh man, I actually thought it was interesting. I thought it was kind of strange though for this kid to kind of walk up to this grown man and say, "I want to write a story about you." But as I read more about the script and I understood about the characters a little more, I was intrigued. I said, I didn't know at first if I could play this character. I honestly didn't know. I didn't know if I would be good at it, or I kind of doubted my ability at first. But I figured really quickly and early on that in order to play this character authentically and for people to enjoy it, I needed to understand what motivates him. And that began my journey to wanting to play this character and eventually being in the movie.
Yeah, your character's name is Hamster. Uh, Explain to the audience why you named Hamster.
So me and the director talked a lot about trying to figure out what are all these tattoos and these symbolic meanings to his character, because he has a hamster tattoo, he has a fiction tattoo underneath his eye,
Right.
and I had to ask. I was like, man, people are gonna look at me or look at this character and say, what is up with this kid? This kid's crazy. So I wanted to understand what that meant to him, and so because the background behind Hamster is his father was a storyteller.
Uh huh.
He wants to tell stories like his father, and he wants to do it in a sense where he's being his most authentic self and he's not putting up a front for anybody. So he decided to get really committed and get a tattoo of fiction, which
Right.
is the symbolic meaning for telling a story, but telling it in a way where it's interesting for people and it can still be about himself. And then his hamster tattoo actually comes from a story that we kind of made up a little bit about him, his origin, which is at family gatherings, he would talk about hamsters, or like he had this weird affinity towards rodents. And so I I don't know. It was very strange, but when we came up with it, we made it make sense. And all of a sudden, his sister refers to him as Hamst, and which is shorter for hamster, and so forth and so on. But it was a lot of fun creating his background for sure.
Yeah, the way you explain it sounds like you had a lot of fun doing this. Now you in there with Zoe Griggs. She plays Indigo as your
Yes,
sister, and you just mentioned her. Well, how was it playing with her?
man, she was so much fun to work with, man. She had me rolling all the time when we did our scenes, man. It was always comedy. We would crack jokes. And she's extremely easy to work with, and she has a fun personality herself. So compared to her character, she's actually really bubbly and funny versus her character who's very serious and very to the point and very brief. So all my scenes, I had a fun time, although we had that she had the kind of parent dynamic on top of my very childish and innocence and comedic character.
Huh, wow. And also, you working with actor Joe Manganiello too.
Yeah,
Man,
man, I
that's
know.
a very good actor. Also,
Yeah, his background was in theater, and I found that out through talking with him, on set back and forth. And he's very intense when it comes to his characters, and very focused. But also one thing about him that people don't know is although he's a tall, buff guy, you know what I'm saying, he actually is a big Dungeons and Dragons video game playing guy. He
oh,
he's very on the he's very in the electronic world, I would say. He's very up to date. He's a hip guy, man. He's a hip.
so he's an older guy, But you can relate to him because he likes things that you like to do, right?
Yeah. He can get down on, Call of Duty and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? He could get down with it. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice,
it's
nice.
dope.
Now you had a few scenes with him also in the film Archenemy. Now, when you all were acting together at the time, when you had the scenes with him, like in the apartment and things like that,
Mhm.
well, how did you act with him? Was it hard? Or did he make it easy for you? But you have some experience as an actor. So how
Yeah.
was it?
Um, I would say it was easy for me in a sense where when he brought his intensity, I made sure I brought the intensity to match it as far as my character is concerned. Because he comes from a very theater background. I've also have worked in theater and I've done the acting for years. So it wasn't difficult to keep up. It was more so in the sense of on the scale of making sure that we were on the same page as a team in telling the story.
Right.
And, and as far as being able to do that, it wasn't too difficult. But I would say that we really did help each other blend the characters' relationship together where it looks realistic, in a sense.
Exactly. And also telling this story, like he was a superhero on his planet, but he landed on Earth,
Mm.
and while he's on Earth, he's a hobo, bum, uh, whatever words you want to use, and
Right.
people didn't believe in he was a drunk and things like that. Now, how did you relate to that type of character in this film, Arch Enemy?
I think as far as me as a person separated from the character, I think the character Hamster has this recklessness to just go after anything he sees and tries to make stuff come out of it. So he trusts very blindly. He's a blind believer and very reckless in chasing his stories. And he just looks at the guy and says, maybe this guy is my next story. And he doesn't even look at the fact that he doesn't care about the fact he's a bum. He doesn't care about, in fact, it's actually the opposite. He thinks that that's actually going to make it even better, make
Yeah.
the story even juicier, and
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to go viral. So his head's in a very young teenager mindset where it's like he's looking at the world as if he's looking at the world as if everything can be okay, but
Right.
he's not realizing that currently it's not okay and that he's in danger. So trying to match that with how Joe made Max Fist, which is very, you know, he really doesn't like the world that he's in, period, anyway.
Right.
He doesn't have his superpowers. So he really has to succumb to talking to a teenager who absolutely knows nothing about life. So trying to make those parallels work, really, I got to bring it back to Adam, the director, because he helped us make that direction very clear and concise and very precise in how we execute it to make it make sense.
Yeah, and also in the film too, your sister, she's trying to save money so you can go to college. I mean, is college really relevant at that
And
time? In the future where you're at in this film?
and this time, to them, it is because they don't know the options outside of where they are.
Right.
So maybe in a different element in like the outer city limits where it's not the same background that they came from, and they get to see what the world is truly like outside of their environment. But for them, the stakes are either you go to college, which is what our parents told you or told us,
Right.
or you're going to end up in the street, maybe drugged out or dead. And that's the reality that she consistently and constantly reminds him of all the time. But he doesn't want to do that. He's not that type of kid.
No. And she should see that in you too. At least I saw that.
She knows. She knows.
And also, Skylan, you were in one of the best series that I saw on television, The
Man.
Get Down.
Oh, man.
Man, I'm telling you, that's what, and I wish there was a third season. That was very, very great series. I understood it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was all about, and I totally enjoyed you in The Get Down.
Oh, thank you, man. Damn, that means the world, man, for real. Man, that was a piece
One
of
of my
art, man.
best. Man, I tell you. Also, you're also in the film Softball
Oh yeah,
that you was in. Like I say, I see you in almost all your films.
man. So you've been watching me over the years.
Yeah,
Uh, I was actually doing Empire the last 2 years, the last two seasons.
yeah,
Um,
right.
wow. As a matter of fact, I was shooting the last season, the sixth season, while we were shooting this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were actually shooting. I was shooting the last season, but believe it or not, though, believe it or not, would you believe that I was actually sick while I was shooting Archenemy? I had
It looked like
pneumonia
it.
and bronchitis.
You did.
Man, I was dying. I couldn't even breathe. I was going back and forth. I went 3 times to the hospital, and I'm over here on set going, just smiling, trying to get through the pain. But it was it was funny, but it was also like I had to make it happen
Right.
so that way it doesn't mess up with the story, so the audience can really get, the meaning behind the film.
Well,
Man,
it didn't show with your acting in Arch Enemy. It really didn't show at all. Not at all.
man, I'm glad that you got that, man. I'm glad that it came through, man. I didn't, man. If I wasn't there, they would have had to shut it down. I was like, I gotta get it out.
Oh. So, how did you start acting? I mean, I can look at stuff on the internet, but tell me, how did you get started, and how did your parents believe in you to let you to do it?
Oh man, I started really young, but my mom actually put me into like pageants. She put me in sports. She put me in everything. From modeling to acting classes to um, basketball since I was like 5. So I was doing this for a long time, but I really didn't start to get passionate about it until, hold on, it's like a Amber Alert or something. Um, but I really didn't get passionate about it until I got older. I would say around after Mr. and Pete,
Uh huh.
uh, I really got passionate about doing it. So I started off around 4 or 5, and I got into it professionally by 7, I would say.
We're about 7.
Yeah, I had booked my first commercial. Guess what that was?
Okay, help me out.
Kool-Aid.
Oh, that's great.
I was Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
I
I was
was,
raised on Kool Aid.
man. I was the principal role in Kool-Aid, man. I had bragging rights at school for
Was
about
that
a
a
week.
union job also?
Yeah, it was actually. It was union. And
Ooh,
yeah, I know. I was like, I'm in, baby.
I
I'm
know,
in.
I know.
But yeah.
And then when you got passionate for acting, well, and then you got an agent, and you went through the regular ways people get work. Uh,
Mhm.
your agent presented you with stuff to do or to audition for. Did your parents help guide you on what you should take and not take and things like that when you were younger?
When I was younger, I kind of went out for everything. Not just anything, but I went out for most things. Um, from like I would say Target to like, you know, kid stuff, brand like Hillshire's Farm, I went for everything and anything for the most part. But I did a lot of commercials at first. When it came to the TV shows and more so the theatrical roles, I actually got a little more selective with what I wanted to do and what I could see myself as.
Uh huh.
Um, and I started to develop a sense or a knack, you could say, for finding things that I actually felt represented in and authentic, where I could still play something that made sense and it didn't veer too far off from where I picture myself in the future. So um, I would say at first my parents always gave me the option to have that last call to kind of say, hey, do you want to do something like this? And then I would say, okay, let me try it because I've never tried this before. And once I realized I saw how it's received and what I could work on, then I started to say, okay, let me dial it back. And then let me come back in a minute after I trained up a little more and then tackle it again with the with a new style or something, you know.
Right. Now, you mentioned training. You know, there's a lot of young people who are very interested to do what you do. Training, what does that mean? Because a lot of young people still don't understand what does that mean.
Very much so. Um, yes, part of it is self practice, but a lot of it is acting classes, coaching, um, learning how to actually walk into a room when you're presenting yourself with other people or producers of that nature, and trying to um, show yourself as the character. Um, it's more so about the due diligence of making sure that you go to your classes, you're on time, you're not late, you know. More so than anything, learning about the craft. I would say a lot of people can act. A lot of people naturally can pull off things, like they can cry on time, or they can laugh genuinely where it comes across naturally. But you you don't understand the timing or the actual professionalism of going into a room or a stage booth and warming up and then actually giving the result that you hear later on TV, or what they call the finished product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm a former drama teacher, and I used to teach at a historically black university, and you know I have 2 master degrees in
Man.
in performing arts and in theater. And so I know about it. And when my students come in, I say, well, you got to learn this, you got to do this, you got to do that. And even for myself, when I was a young man, getting
Mhm.
into acting and learning the business too, you know,
Right.
it was a lot of work on the side. And a lot of my
Yeah.
kind of a few acting friends, actor friends, and things like that. And they, you know, no matter how old they are, they're still in some type of training,
Oh man,
some type
100%.
of learning.
100%. Even I know people look at me and they say, "Man, you're at this level where it's like you're up there," and it's like I'm still learning about a lot of things. And one thing that I encourage everybody to do is learn about the business aspect of
Oh, yeah.
the acting industry or the music industry, whatever you want to do. Learn about it, because it's your business. You know, it's you that's going out there, and let's say you don't have a team. You have to know what you want to achieve. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn the terms, know what they're talking about, and more so than anything, be confident in yourself and your craft. Because at the end of the day, at a lot of points, you really need to be able to handle yourself when you walk into a room and know what you bring to the table.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, one more thing about Archenemy. Your current
Yeah.
film is opening up this week. When the audience sees this film, what you want them to take away from this film?
Well, I know a lot of people have in their brains that at first glance, this is a superhero film. This is about a hero from a different dimension. But
I saw more than that myself.
I mean, yeah, you saw more, but they're gonna see it soon. But what I do want them to take is that this isn't about the superhero aspect. This is
Right.
about how the superhero copes and redeems himself when he seems himself unworthy. And he and that superheroes have emotions too. You know, they're not just these walls of hope that save everybody in the end. They have to cope with their own demons, and in a sense. And it's about trust and friendship and bond, and how you can take that and conquer anything in front of you. Um, and that's really what I want people to take from it.
And especially for you, Hamster, a young man, that's the lesson in that movie for you too, as you know, with
Yeah,
your character.
100%.
Yeah.
Be authentically you, man.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
real.
Well, Skylan, thank you very much. This was very fun. I mean, I can talk to you for hours, but you know, I know you're very busy. And again, I want to thank you for taking time with me here at yuticket.com. And Arch Enemy is opening up, and you know, I know how we are with the COVID about theaters and things like that, but there's
Yeah.
some way people can see your film, some way, somehow, video on demand, might be a theater in their neighborhood, whatever, but they can get a chance to see you in Arch Enemy.
Yeah, man. Please, guys, go check it out. Video on demand, everything, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much. And
All right.
I love and keep up with me and let me know what you're doing and things like that. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. I guess one last thing would be I am releasing my EP project, my music project, later this month. So.
Well, I hope you have my email.
Oh yeah. I think I can get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I can text you.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Right.
I'd love to hear it. I love
Appreciate that.
I would. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.